Today, we are 6 weeks away from election, so a lot of questions on internet. You can kind of even see today, if you log on to internet by your default browser, there will be article coming out to talk about bankruptcy. I think bankruptcy is some sort of related with President Trump and in his debate, and he obviously he is regarding himself as a businessman with a very good business strategy to grow his business to today. So he's a billionaire, trillionaire, he's rich. So the people like to look at what happened to the bankruptcy that he filed and why that has become a milestone or shining spot rather than a thing that people would consider as a failing practice. So taking an independent view from community CPA, and we want to just explain to you about bankruptcy. So how to file a bankruptcy that doesn't affect your life at all. You can still show up to be a hero. You can still show up to be, however you want to present yourself, reputable, reliable, however you put it, right? So how that bankruptcy be so disconnected from you as a person. So let's just explore that. So at least our ordinary folks, when you file bankruptcy, maybe what you're thinking is not correct, right? So here is our webinar website, which is the YouTube channel. We have all of our webinars saved right here after we finish talking, and we have over 1,000 videos for so many years. We're on YouTube consistently 3 to 4 times a week. So I do on Saturday, and I also do it on Tuesday. My next few Tuesday is all about technically accounting tax related items that string into the election. So at my last, on that election day is actually a webinar day as well. So I will be giving you the final say about what's our opinions. I promise you. But I want you to follow me on every Tuesday from now on. Saturday, this coming Saturday, I'll talk about how philanthropy, how donations, contribution to the well-being of your community can actually uplift your business. And I am talking from the experience standpoint, so I will be leading you through my ideas, my journey, and my experience of philanthropy, how that related to successful business practice. All right, so let's get going, and you now know where to find the old video history, and I will be start sharing you the PowerPoint that I prepared for our today's webinar. All right, folks, how to file bankruptcy without affecting your lifestyle, your reputation, your lifestyle, anything you want to show to outside of the world. All right, so about our firm, I always gonna say it as if you didn't know us, but a lot of you don't know us. A lot of you do know us for a million times, but here, I give you a couple numbers, just narrow down all the numbers. 12,000 is a number of clients that we serve worldwide. And then we have 10 are the languages that we collectively speaking at our firm. That is how diverse our professional folks are. And the 40 is about how many professionals we have in our firm. 26 is how many years this firm is in practice. 5 is the branches that we have around the country. We have 5 branches in 3 different states. And 3 is the years that I was advising IRS via National Taxpayer Advocacy Panel. All right, 2 are the books I wrote so far on Amazon. And one is 8 a.m., 10 a.m. I am working on 2 p.m. I have a 6 p.m. That I tabled to write. So these are the business process. It is business from the beginning to the end. That is kind of how I want to strain the clock time in the day to represent different stage of business development. All right. No responsibility disclaimer. Of course, the stuff we're talking about, we have done our research, we have done our due diligence, but when we present to you, and it could be the limitation of our understanding, could also be the timing is, the expired knowledge when you start looking at this. So there is a disclaimer to say that you are not our client. We're not responsible for what you do based on information we provided. But however, if you are our client, not only we are responsible, we also have insurance, malpractice insurance, to safeguard the economic loss that you possibly can endure, then you won't have that kind of loss. All right, let's take a look at an overview of bankruptcy, right? Obviously, everyone in this country, every company in this country qualifies to file bankruptcy. Okay, bankruptcy is a legal process designed to help individual and the business to eliminate or repay their debt under the protection of the bankruptcy court. So basically, bankruptcy is like a shield. As soon as you mobilize it, you are protected. Even though you owe a bunch of money to other people, who cares? You are protected. That is bankruptcy. So a lot of times, I personally affiliate bankruptcy into a rather more of a negative experience term. Nobody gonna celebrate they filed bankruptcy, because bankruptcy obviously is a signal of failing. You failed. You did not do it well. And, in fact, you are able to file bankruptcy because there is a loser on the other side. When you say, I'm not paying your debt anymore, that person or that organization or that bank, that investor loses. They are the one lost. So bankruptcy is an action that would cause pain to others, but bring relief to you. Clearly said. Yes, it is protected by the bankruptcy court because there are circumstances when people file bankruptcy is legit. It is legit bankruptcy need to provide that relief to the person, to the business. The court will protect you and you have this shield, right? There's different type of bankruptcy with a different impact to business and individual. So we will briefly talk about the most common ones here. Bankruptcy is not a trophy for amazing business acumen. We all know that, right? So you can't be like, oh, I'm a queen of bankruptcy. I am so successful. That success is built on somebody's loss. That somebody may not be your grandfather, your grandmother, may not be your family at all, but it is somebody. It is Citibank, it is Deutsche Bank, it is other banks, right? But these banks are privately owned company as well. Somebody with a lot of money can afford to have you run away and be protected. And it is our human society, and we like people to do all good. So in my career time, I had so many incidents where we have helped people to file bankruptcy so they can get a relief. We also have suffered from bankruptcy because those, taxpayers knew they're going to file bankruptcy. They would come to community CPA, say that, oh, you do my taxes, I really need it, we're so urgent. So, we are inexperienced enough to realize that they're taking our tax return, go to the lawyer, file bankruptcy, and including our fee, so we don't get paid at all. So in that incident, you hear me, I am the one, our firm is the one, our staff who worked so hard, so sincerely for the company or the person, and unfortunately be included in the bankruptcy and to be written off. Have I written off a lot of money? Absolutely. And I respect the court protection, so I will write off when they file bankruptcy. So those are the overview of bankruptcy. I want to connect bankruptcy with you. I know you are not in business or you're in small business and you don't really experience bankruptcy, but imagine if you are making cupcakes and you sold 2,000 of them to a company and the company didn't pay you and you were really feeling secure, no problem. They will pay me. They're a big company over the other side of the street. But next thing you get is a court order saying that, they filed bankruptcy. You cannot collect anymore. That's number one. Number two, you lose your cupcakes. So small business owners, I want you to feel the bankruptcy pain before you go forward to say, I can become a queen of bankruptcy. I'll file 6 of them. Right? We have a king of bankruptcy in our country who is running presidency, and he filed 6 times. And my question is that if someone really have that track record of filing bankruptcies, wouldn't that be any problem to file bankruptcy for United States of America? Just think very deeply. Is that okay to just like Greece, just file bankruptcy to write off all the debt for the other country? It just as a person, we knew small business owners struggle so hard, would not go on the path of bankruptcy because they still want to pay, because they still want to make up that shortage to the people they borrowed money from. Common bankruptcy myth. So bankruptcy ruins your credit forever? No. Don't think of that way. Bankruptcy, the most, if you file personal bankruptcy, it lasts for 10 years at most. Then the record will disappear and you can act like you're brand new. Bankruptcy is to give you a break, so it will not ruin your credit forever. You will lose everything. No, bankruptcy don't take everything away from you. Bankruptcy leaves your house, your car, leaves a lot of stuff necessary for you to have a reasonable life with you. They cannot take everything from you. Okay? And if irresponsible people file for, only irresponsible people file for bankruptcy. No, there are irresponsible people file for bankruptcy. There's also people are forced into bankruptcy without their control. They cannot help. For example, they got ill, they got sick, and so the ventures went bad. But there's also people strategically file bankruptcy. So there is all kind of people related to bankruptcy. So today we're going to focus on strategic bankruptcy filing, right? So you can file bankruptcy and come out like a hero and making that part of your wealth building strategy. Bankruptcy discharge all debts. Not true. Bankruptcy do not discharge all debt. For example, if you want to file bankruptcy to write off IRS debt, and you have to have that debt be there for at least 3 years, and it is a business debt, so that way you can run bankruptcy. So yes, you can discharge debt, but not all of it. Some of like student loan is not so far is not bankruptcyable, and so there's things that you cannot do. Like child support, you cannot bankrupt that, right? You can only file for bankruptcy once. No, our President Trump filed Chapter 11 6 times, and people can file personal bankruptcy and after 7 years space. So you can continue to file, and if that's what your life is, right? And the most common bankruptcies, let's talk about them. Chapter 7. Chapter 7 allows individual or business to discharge most unsecured debt by liquidating non-exempt asset. So exempt asset like a house and a car and things like that, non-exempt everything else. So this is a Chapter 7 is more for individual, most frequently used by individual who are into, say, sole proprietorship business, into other things, and they just got into too much debt and want to bankrupt. And to tell you, this is a real experience I have. I have a long-term friend. The friendship lasted for more than 10 years, and come to borrow money from me. And on the last day of my tax season, so obviously 20 years ago, my firm was very small, so the money was not a lot. So what I have on my bank was only $58,000. So she come in, wanted to borrow the money, and said that she will return that money to me in 30 days because her house is foreclosed and I need to help her. So obviously, I have it in the bank. So I wrote that $58,000 check. I gave to her. You know what she did? And I gave to her in May, and she filed a personal bankruptcy, Chapter 7, in September. Just bankrupted my money out. So just to get away from me and to file $58,000 bankruptcy. So these are Chapter 7s. Yes, and she qualified because when you file Chapter 7, they have to do this mean calculation to make sure that you qualify. So obviously, she qualified so she can bankrupt and took my money, and it all went to her house. So her house, remember, that's an exempted asset. So she can keep her house, but without paying me back. So those are bankruptcy. And I honestly don't think she is strategically planning for that. I think that it's convenient to do that because she only need to pay $3,000 to file bankruptcy on me than paying $58,000 back to me, right? So now life goes on. This is 20-some years ago. This person is still roam around in my community. I still know where she is, but I respect the bankruptcy, the protection the court provided to her. So, for your information, this individual 7 years later filed another bankruptcy to bankrupt somebody else. That one might be strategic just because she knew how to get away from taking other people's money and just let herself roll over for bankruptcy. So I want to say this to you, not because I am graving over 58,000. I do not care. It is a history. I learned my lesson, so I never lost $58,000 again. So that's a plus, right? But again, I want you to understand how bankruptcy is affected people and giving one person relief, hurting the other people. That is called bankruptcy. All right? Then Chapter 13 is special for the wage earners. If you are just making W-2s and then you need to file bankruptcy for whatever reason, maybe you're addicted to gambling and then you got IRS debt over your head and the IRS debt is over 3 years old, you can file Chapter 13 and to figure it out, right? So Chapter 13 is also sometimes it's called wage earner bankruptcy. So the other one, Chapter 7, is total bankruptcy and including business and personal. And so this 13 is wage earner bankruptcy. Then you also have this Chapter 11. Chapter 11 is the bankruptcy that President Trump did Chapter 11 6 times. So let's look at what this is. Because obviously this seems to be so far away from his personal wealth, right? He lives in the 30-some square footage mansion and the gold-plated ceilings, whatever. I have never been there and just reading the news out there. And so I don't know for sure, but I imagine his lifestyle is pretty wealthy. And if I mention to you that he did 6-time Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and if you don't know, you may think that that's not possible, or you may think that, oh, how come that is not affecting how he lived, right? So Chapter 11 is typically done for a company. So all of his endeavors are C corporations. So they're isolated. They're not pass-through entities or anything related to him personally. So these are independent companies. So when these companies was formed, and then Trump would get investors to invest. The investors includes individuals and also include banks. Okay, Citibank, for example, is one of the investors that gone through bankruptcy 11 with him. So the advantage of this Chapter 11 for business is that once you file, and you can continue your business as normal. So your employees, anything outside is the same. So it's running normal. But it provides a what we call automatic stay for business. So the creditors, the banks, the investors who wants the money to be paid or who wants the money to come back, they cannot do that anymore. They cannot collect, period. So not only you can continue to operate a business and the people cannot make any noise anymore, and you can provide a plan say how you want to do this to the bankruptcy court and to get that approved. So you hire your experts to come up with a structured new plan. Maybe that new plan means I'm not paying you 50% of what you loan me. I'm only going to give you 50%, or you lower your interest rate. So whatever requirement you needed to in order your business to continue going, that is the advantage of Chapter 11. So President Trump fully utilized this advantage in every of the Chapter 11 filing. So what is the disadvantage? Normally speaking, the branding of you filed Chapter 11 is no good, but not in President Trump's case, because he was a president, and he filed. It's not like after he became president, he filed 6 bankruptcy. He filed 6 bankruptcy already, but he was the president. So this is not becoming a negative branding. It is almost become amazing business acumen that Trump has. So branding this bankruptcy in a way that is I want to use the word boggling, but I want to say that it's refreshing. It is something that was never in my realm of thought. I never could. If it is not President Trump, I would never be so elevated to a stage to realize that bankruptcy can be a tool. Bankruptcy can be a badge of honor because you know how to do your business in such a way. And bankruptcy do lose the privacy. And when you file the bankruptcy, and those are all public financial disclosure, that's why you and I, little people like me, knows he has 6 bankruptcies, right? So that is disadvantage. And of course, the bankruptcy supposedly to limit what it should be paid to executive officers. Like if this casino is Trump's entity, Taj Mahal, for example, and he pay himself. But once you file Chapter 11, your payment to yourself is supposed to diminish. But that wasn't the case because Trump has been paying everything out from Taj Mahal, even though bankruptcy was in place, and he still have to run the business. So there's Trump Waters and Trump Airs. Everything was labeled to be sold. So he's still paying his business to operate that business, operate that Taj Mahal. So let's look at all the bankruptcies that listed on the internet that Trump has. So Taj Mahal is the one that Trump filed. So this is the Trump Taj Mahal Casino in Atlantic City, and filed Chapter 11. And just a year after it's opened, and listen to the amount. It's $3 million in debt. Trump has to negotiate with the creditors, ultimately surrendering a significant portion of the ownership to reduce his debt burden. So that is the negotiation. That is a stay order, so they can no longer collect. The creditors need to be quiet, and Trump need to continue operate the casino. So after he surrendered a portion of his ownership, actually the casino subsequently just closed because the investors who come in to purchase the other portion also was not successful. So ultimately this was closed. But Trump had not lost money in this Chapter 11 bankruptcy with Taj Mahal because he made money, he paid himself or his affiliated company, and at the same time and would not need to pay the $3 million in debt. So Plaza Hotel, that was filed a year after Taj Mahal. Following Taj Mahal, and Trump filed for bankruptcy again within a year to Chapter 11. The Plaza was $550 million in debt at the time. And Trump has to restructure the ownership, the debt obligation significantly to get by this one. Trump gave up a 49% ownership in the hotel to Citibank because he owns Citibank. and the other lenders in exchange of terms for the debt. So that another Chapter 11. And the Trump Hotel and Casino Resorts in 2004, in this instance, Trump sought bankruptcy protection to manage 1.8 billion in debt across multiple properties. Okay, so he reduced his ownership again, 47 to 27. Then in 2009 was the last few bankruptcy 11 he filed, and after he missing a bond payment, that he filed bankruptcy again on this one. So these are the business doing that Trump had for his bankruptcy. So let's talk about Trump's strategic financial tactics. I didn't even label that in the negative terms because really it didn't really come out with all the medias going on. Sometimes you can even hear people talking about how Trump is utilizing the legal system to create wealth for himself, his company, and his employees. So let's look at what kind of tactics there is related to Trump success, financial success, or failure. In this case, maybe they're equals to each other, right? So use little of his own money. This is a very principal thing. When Trump has a casino deals, all of these ventures he has, he used very little of his own money. Trump put up little of his own money, shipped personal debt to the casino, and collect millions of dollars in salaries, bonus, and other payment. The burden of his operation failure fell on investors and the others who had the bet on his business acumen. People impressed with his talk. They believe that he's gonna do it. And see the quote that in August 2015, Trump said, "I have used the law of this country, United States of America, just like the greatest people that you read about every day in business have used the law of this country, United States. The chapter laws to do a great job for my company, my employee, myself, and my family, mine, right?" And so that's what he thinks. He uses the law to protect his interest. So this is how the practice, how his financial tactics comes, and these are the principle of what you do, what he does. So to make him the way he is. Maximize legal protection. That is very important because Trump uses the automatic stay to not interfere with the operation, still run as it is, but at the same time to go ahead to negotiate, pay bills to businesses that he wants to get paid, and develop plan to outlay the future for the renegotiation, and he is a negotiator. So every of these Chapter 11s don't have to be negotiated, but every one of them Trump has done negotiation to make the deal that going his way. So he is a tremendous negotiator for sure, and no one can take that away from him. This is his strategic move in terms of gobbling up a big deal and then watering it down by Chapter 11, then maintain certain ownership. That ownership allow him to do estimate on personal wealth, how wealthy he is, so he can make onto the list 500 wealthiest individual in the country. So the Forbes list, what they call it. Okay, so these are the things, these are the strategies President Trump has on his personal doing with his business. And look at this. So the strategic filing of bankruptcy, one of the significant wealth growing tools for President Trump. Donald Trump's history with bankruptcies has been a significant aspect of the business strategy, often framed by him, framed by Trump as a calculated approach to manage financial risk. It sounds really good if I just cut off the other party of Trump And if the other parties are some enemies and we, get rid of them, like Citibank is not. These are all American owned businesses. So it's just a little hard to see this one, in my opinion, to be as a calculated approach to manage financial risk for one party but not for the other party, right? And Trump has publicly characterized these bankruptcies as strategic moves rather than failures. That's why I was talking about Chapter 11 branding. How do you brand it? So Trump branded as a strategic move. He argues that utilizing bankruptcy law in a common practice is a common practice among business facing overwhelming debt, and allowing the business to negotiate better terms with creditors and and emerge financially healthier. And he has referred to himself as a king of debt, and suggesting a mastery over leveraging borrowed fund for business ventures. In this whole doing of it, I think the scope is very small because obviously all of these words fit for Trump's world. But when you expand that scope into other businesses and all need to do better, then what he does is actually detrimental to the other businesses. So it's our business owner's decision whether you file bankruptcy or not. But I have known plenty of people in my circle of surroundings who was in the financial difficulties would definitely qualify to file bankruptcy, but they did not. They want to honor what was agreed before and come through that, becoming stronger by hardworking, by measured approach to the debt. Instead of becoming king of debt, maybe they want to become a manager of the debt, so to be able to manage the debt. King of debt just means it's not a debt. It is, you don't really have any reasons to pay anything because you're the king, right? So with that, this is a strategic filing of bankruptcy, and it is one of the financial tactics that Trump is using to grow his personal wealth. And the frequency and the type of filing is of course important. File as frequent as you want and as you need, and don't worry about it's only 12 months apart. And the type, and it's focused on Chapter 11 because that gives the most power to write down, and to still run as a big business on the outside. So with that said, and I want to recap our bankruptcy side of talk, right? So we know that you can file bankruptcy Chapter 11 for your business, walk away from everything you have, and just like how that was done by President Trump. You can also file. President Trump did not file Chapter 7. He never filed personal bankruptcy. That's why you hear him talking about, I never filed bankruptcy. When he say I, he meant Trump with the Trump Social Security number. But he didn't mean my business never filed bankruptcy. And his business filed so many bankruptcy. I do not know you can find another billionaire on Forbes list had filed 6 of Chapter 11s. So he is the king of bankruptcy as well, other than king of debt. All right, with that said, and I want our small business to recognize the both sides of bankruptcy impact, and you could be the one filing it, you could be the one suffering from it. All right, and so knowing that, I still say that as a person, I would admire people who works hard and get their bill paid and do not file bankruptcy. But if you have to because of reasons, and we have a law here in this country to protect you, so you can walk away as a free person. You don't have to pay yin back for the 58,000 Lana, and that's really okay. I actually have already forgive you for that, and then you can file a third time bankruptcy when you like to do it. All right. Again, I want to make sure that you know these are our partners at Community CPA. We are here to help you, and bankruptcy is not a topic we want to spend any more time, but we wish you success in business, not to ever get close to that place. That's a dark place to go unless you have a big bulb light on your head and you can shine that place up like how President Trump did, then you don't go there. You are not that special yet, let me just tell you. And all of our partners here, you can book our time and we will come online to help you with your topics. Our tax service, our tax planning service is right now. We are doing 2024 tax planning. If you are interested, sign up with us. And of course, last but not the least, we open 6 days a week. All right? So just so you know. And that's our phone number. You can call Monday to Saturday. And that's our website, communitycpa.com. You can get information there about us and subscribe to our channel. And we wish you a very successful business. You never need to go into bankruptcy. Leave that for somebody else.